Hi, and welcome to Always On CXEX, the show for contact center and IT leaders. Between helping support your contact center agents, your customers, and the technology that makes the contact center function, you're relied upon quite a lot. So in this show, we talk through how you can continuously improve your customer experience, your agent experience, and everything in between. If you're ready to find the next strategy to keep your customer and employee experience always on, then let's get into this episode. So today we have a couple of changes from the norm. Firstly, I'm the guest host for this episode, as Josh is busy enjoying zero sleep as he has a new baby. And secondly, for the first time, we have an external guest, which is Tom Arbuthnot. So when Tom and I catch up at events or expos, I liken it a bit like two kids talking about football, swapping Italian 90 or USA 94 Panini stickers. We'll talk AI and general tech for hours. So as much as I don't want too much structure or any sort of on-rails discussion, in the interest of time, I had to come up with at least a topic for today, and that is a practical view of what's trending with Microsoft, Contact Center, and AI. So without further ado, and to stop me from doing an even longer intro than needed, let's jump in and at least welcome Tom. So Tom, welcome to the show.
Yeah, hey John. Yeah, thanks for having me on the show. Excited to be the first guest. I've been enjoying the pod and the shorts, so nice to be on.
Very good, thank you. So I think first is just telling the viewers a little bit about yourself. So give us a little bit of history. What do you do now? Where have you come from? What's your background? And how is it that you've ended up as a Microsoft specialist, I suppose?
Yeah, so I actually originally was working for a Cisco partner doing Call Manager way back when that launched. They're one of the launch partners. So I was doing Call Manager kind of 4 or 5, even before it was on Linux. And during that time, I started doing Exchange Unified Messaging against Call Manager, and then eventually OCS against Call Manager, Remote Call Control. Got into Microsoft UC, joined a small partner Modality, number 7 in there, and we grew to about 250 people at peak. And that was doing essentially Microsoft UC, some CX, all around the world, lots of big enterprise customers. And towards the end of that run, during that run as well, I was a Microsoft MVP. So that's a Microsoft kind of badge for doing lots of community work, blogging, events, speaking. I've always enjoyed doing that. And I was mainly doing strategy towards the end of that. And I decided to actually spin out and do my own thing. So I now run a company called Empowering.Cloud, and we focus on Microsoft and the ecosystem. Lots of Microsoft Teams, lots of Microsoft 365. We do lots of research, which we give to the community. And we have various sponsors that help us give all that content away free, AudioCodes being a great supporter of what we do there. I spend all my time talking to enterprise customers, Microsoft ecosystem partners, and Microsoft about what's going on and try and decode it into English, basically.
Well, perfect. Thank you very much. So, I was liking you, I suppose, as like Microsoft's biggest employee without actually being employed by Microsoft, I suppose.
I can say what I want, which is fortunately one of the things of being on the outside. But yeah, I do spend a disproportionate amount of time in and around Microsoft.
Yes, cool. And that's why we invited you to this show to talk through Microsoft and be that specialist, especially for me to learn a little bit more. I suppose on that point as a first topic is probably where my expertise doesn't fall into, and that's kind of the UC world. So quite interested to find and to learn from you what's going on in the telephony and UC world, Microsoft Teams telephony, obviously, and probably a few questions around that. What's new in it? What does AI look like? What's coming soon? Maybe we can take those in order. But if you give us an insight, what's kind of going on in that Teams environment for telephony at the moment?
Yeah, sure. So obviously the pandemic massively accelerated everybody going to cloud platforms and UCaaS platforms, mostly for meetings, to be honest. That was the big driver, is keep everybody working. So that kind of cemented the idea of UC is going to the cloud and accelerating to the cloud. Microsoft Teams is now 320 million monthly active users. So that's a hell of a lot of the base is already using it. And they just tipped over 20 million Teams phone activated users. Wow. So that is activated and using it as opposed to licensed. The license number is higher still. And we're seeing phone just steadily accelerate into the cloud. Not as fast as meetings, because meetings was kind of a must do and a quick one. But still kind of month on month, it's more and more seats, particularly knowledge workers. It's sort of a no-brainer at this point to go to UCAS. And other UCASs are obviously, fighting that fight too. WebEx, Zoom, both have, cloud phone offers. But in the Teams world, as you alluded to, the big thing is AI at the moment. So Microsoft are pushing AI and their Copilot kind of brand of AI into everything in the stack, including Teams and Teams Phone.
Yeah. And I suppose from me not knowing the team side, what exactly when Microsoft talk about Copilot in Microsoft Teams telephony, what does that mean? Or is Copilot in Teams Phone? I see the terminology a lot, but I don't actually know what that actually means.
Yeah, let's go through it. So Copilot it's both a product and a family brand, which obviously keeps it confusing, bless Microsoft. So if you go to copilot.microsoft.com, you get to the free consumer web-based, not like ChatGPT, but Microsoft's flavor with Bing integrated.
Yeah.
If you've got a Microsoft 365 or Office 365 license, you get the same experience included in basically all your SKUs, but with commercial data protection. So same chatbot-like experience, and that is included in all the SKUs. That's your base. But then you have Copilot for Microsoft 365, which is an add-on, $30 per user per month. So decent add-on in terms of total cost compared to the licensing.
Yeah.
And that brings you Copilot into Word, Copilot into Outlook, a Copilot into Excel, and Copilot into Teams, of course, and a bunch of other products, Loop and others. And in Teams, it covers your asynchronous collab, your chat, your channels. It also covers your meetings, so you can do interactive meeting summaries, you can query, you can create bullets. And for Teams Phone, if you have that Copilot license, you can activate Copilot and transcription during a call, even a PSTN call, get a transcript, query the transcript, get summaries. So the kind of things you've probably seen a lot for AI in meetings, the same principle holds in phone and peer-to-peer VoIP calls if you've got that Copilot for Microsoft 365 license.
Okay. Cool. Well, thanks for clearing it up. And I suppose what are you seeing from an adoption point of view for Teams Phone? So I know you mentioned we've seen that the licensing is a lot higher than the actual users, but I think it was a Cavell event. I can't remember if we were both there, in fairness, a few months back. It was quite an interesting stat that I think they put up, and correct me if I'm wrong. Someone from Cavell, I'm sure, can comment on it and put in the comments on the podcast. I think the adoption across Europe for UC as a service cloud, I think, was still only about 37%. So I think from what you were saying about, COVID, it felt like the world exploded into Microsoft Teams. Everyone went to meetings, everyone went to telephone, and we felt like we were hugely busy for the last 4 years in migrating people to the cloud. And maybe it's sort of, the thought is it hitting a plateau of kind of everyone's done that? And actually, it doesn't seem like that's the case just yet. That plateau.
No, the vast majority of phone, you see different stats from different people. Cavell are very good on their stats, but the vast majority of telephony is still on-prem. Like the vast majority, it hasn't moved to the cloud as fast as other workloads. And the organizations I'm working with, mostly enterprises, it's slow and steady. It's country by country, site by site. When the PBX retires, there's not been a mass business driver to say, I'm going to take my 60,000 users and cut them all over to a phone system.
Overnight.
For meetings, it was a no-brainer because there's an easy, there was the COVID need, and there's a bunch of productivity features in meetings that are just, performance is better, scalability is better. For phone, I think it just ticks along. So it is going, and it will continue to go. Nobody's doing new on-prem deployments, but they're just waiting for those PBXs to retire, end of life, end of support, and then cutting over.
Yeah, cool. I suppose probably opportune time to move a little bit more into my world, in the contact center world, which you obviously touch on in the Microsoft environment. First question, again, just what are you seeing in that contact center world in terms of Microsoft? So there's obviously quite a number of certified contact centers now, but have you seen any trends? Are you seeing anything?
It's a really interesting space, actually, because contact center, I feel like, is behind UCAS in terms of cloud adoption. So UCAS, I feel like it's maybe 6-7 years behind, if you like. There's still tons of contact center options, tons of competitive, tons of innovation. In the Microsoft world, what tends to happen is people will move to Teams, and then they'll look at, oh, okay, I have these advanced routing scenarios, and when we can, you and I debate about what defines contact center, but they have these advanced routing scenarios, and they're like, oh, I need a little bit more than what Teams has in the box. Do I step up to full contact center, quote unquote? Do I do something in the middle? And that spurs off a whole conversation from one side, kind of from the UCaaS side, and then the other side of the conversation is in bigger contact centers, classic contact centers. I now need to move to cloud. What do I move to? Why do I move? And the thing that's mixed all this up in a really exciting way is the AI. AI is, I think, going to be super disruptive to customer service, to contact center, to CX. It has the potential to offer better service and be more price competitive, and that's rare that happens in technology. Like, both things come to be. So now you've got lots of projects spinning up around how do we use AI to competitive advantage, and that plays into contact center as well. So a lot going on.
Yes, and we as you know, in terms of our view is pretty much the same. We've seen a much higher adoption of doing that consolidation of unified comms and contact center. In the past, in those on-prem days that you mentioned, it was very siloed. You were a telephony user. You had basic, I don't know, voicemail and a hunt group, or you were contact center. There was nothing in between. You had one or the other. That blend, it for a good, in a good way, in the cloud world, seems to be merging a lot more. You can have both. You can have someone contact center.
For the kind of the informal agent, if you like, someone that doesn't necessarily spend 9 to 5 only answering calls. They're a bit in, they're a bit out there. HR help desk, IT help desks, like medium-sized seat count, kind of contact center in and out. The idea of going to a single experience is definitely beneficial for them.
Yeah, and Microsoft have made that nice play in the Teams world, that you can have a single infrastructure underneath and then a choice on top. Is Teams enough? Yeah. If Teams isn't enough, add something else that gives you better enhanced capability in inverted commas of like contact center, or full capability with a contact center that's still using the same infrastructure underneath. So that's the beauty of all of those options.
And like you say, Microsoft are a kind of an options company. So they have the ecosystem. So you've got some basic functionality in Teams. You do have call queues and auto attendance, like not much reporting, not much dynamism, but they're there. Then Microsoft have announced their Queues app, which is adding additional capability. They're not calling it contact center, they're calling it kind of customer engagement, but that adds some reporting and some other bits and pieces. Then you've got the ecosystem, which obviously Voca plays, and there's 20 odd certified partners. There's real differences in that ecosystem. We spend a lot of time talking to customers there, and there's very basic capabilities and there's very advanced capabilities in that camp. And then, interestingly, just before we started recording, Microsoft announced the Dynamics 365 contact center, which is Microsoft kind of going after the very high-end, big seat Genesis 5.9 type scenarios with lots of AI. So interesting time for customers. They've got this spectrum of different options that are available to them.
You've kind of covered what I would have sort of mentioned as well, actually, with that news of Microsoft decoupling the contact center and the different names it's had over the past few months and years, I suppose, just to confuse everyone, as well as the word Copilot.
Yeah, it keeps me busy though, doesn't it? I have to keep explaining what things are.
That's true. Yeah. But it seems like that announcement, really good for the marketplace, really good on that enterprise level contact center that Microsoft hasn't quite nailed for the past few
years. It's still really early. Like, they're building it on Azure Communication Services, which obviously you guys know well as a platform. That's the platform that underlies Teams. They're bringing in their nuance technology. They're bringing in their Power Platform technology. They're bringing lots of pieces of an exciting puzzle together, but it is very build your own adventure, clever partner type territory. So I think decoupling it from the CRM system is a massive step, because previously you basically had to be a Dynamics customer, and that's not a high percentage of the market. But it's definitely not the simplest route to go. It's a kind of build a solution type model.
And it seems, from what I understand it on it's sort of AI first, in the AI led. It's around automation and AI.
Yeah, everything at Microsoft is AI first now. Like the dictate from on high is AI is going to change everything, like put AI in your products in every way. And the Dynamics 365 Contact Center is embracing that. So yes, it will be very AI first. The interesting thing there is, obviously, from an ecosystem point of view, is they're using, obviously, Microsoft have access to all the OpenAI models. They have access to different models from different vendors in Azure. They have their own models they're building, but most of that stuff is available as a ecosystem platform for partners as well. So it's exciting to see Microsoft are not blocking anything from partners to use on a consumption basis from Azure. They're competing alongside other options, which is interesting in the AI space.
I think one of the key bits, and it's not necessarily that it would scare people off, but that AI first is probably a little bit more scary for those not in the enterprise space who say, I haven't even dipped my toe into the water of AI yet, and you're coming in with a full AI contact center.
Yeah, if you're not, if you haven't
way too
deployed,
much for me.
if you haven't deployed chat internally yet, you're probably not jumping straight into the AI first contact center. I'd say that's probably accurate. And this is typical of Microsoft. They're usually slightly ahead of the market, like perpetually of like, here's where it's going, we'll go where the puck's going. But yeah, same thing with Teams. I mean, I've been doing this since LCS and OCS, and I can't believe it took basically a decade, maybe more, for everybody to understand, like normal people to understand what Teams is, and I can work from anywhere. And it's the same thing with AI. It'll be a longer road, I think, in a lot of ways than people think. But that doesn't mean you can't piece off some valuable pieces as you go.
I think that's quite a good point and a topic of discussion in terms of that adoption piece. You say there's some customers, they see the words AI, they see what seems to be, in inverted commas, everyone moving to AI. And actually, from what we see, and it'd be good to get your view on it as well, is the adoption. I don't think people need to be as scared as much that everyone else is going headfirst into AI and doing it overnight and is automating everything. It's like the market and the media make you think that that's what's happening. And actually, it's for those contact center leaders out there, look, not everyone has gone head first and just automated everything.
No,
overnight.
for sure not. I think everybody's aware of it and investigating kind of what the options are. Same thing with omnichannel, right? For years we've had omnichannel, must be omnichannel on the RFPs and RFIs. Most contact centers don't run omnichannel, like they're getting there. And it's the same with AI. I want the option. I want to buy into a platform that has the capability. But honestly, the vendors are still working out, are they doing virtual agents? Are they doing agent coaching? Are they doing customer facing AI? It's a bit like, we used to say, something has an app or something is digital. Like AI doesn't really mean anything in its own right. It's what's the use case?
Yeah. We're seeing at the moment with, Copilot is a great example on its own as a bot framework, and it can do all sorts of stuff, and it can automate a lot. But I think people are still a little bit wary of AI and still don't want to invest too heavily in it when there's certain issues and around data sovereignty and whatever else that potentially could be answered. But there's still just that nervousness. I think
definitely, particularly when it's customer facing. I think it's a little bit different for agent coaching or for internal use cases because the business risk is less there. Like, say I put my IT help desk, I put AI on that to try to answer questions. If it gets it wrong for internal users, I'm not particularly liable for anything. If it's a customer facing, we've seen a couple of cases of this in Europe where a customer facing chatbot has given a wrong answer, and those companies have been held to account as, the company presented that answer. You have to honor the ticket price or whatever it may be. There's definitely a different ways you can deploy and different levels of risk people are tolerating.
Yeah, you're right. If you just want an automation to reset a password for an IT help desk or tell some FAQs of opening hours, great. When it comes to changing flight times and bookings and taking payment, people just start to get a little bit more nervous.
Yeah,
it's phase 2 and phase 3, isn't it?
So in some ways, I mean, AI, the LLM models are kind of black boxes as to how they come up with an answer. So it depends. Again, AI means everything and nothing. Just slashing ChatGPT into your workflow is very different to building your own custom built model for your use case. So it depends on what you're doing.
Yeah. Cool. Well, we're sort of 20 minutes in. As I said, we could talk AI for hours. So I think it's probably best to at least kind of call call a day on this specific episode. I'm sure there's loads more that we could talk about.
Yeah, we'll have to do it again. Hopefully we'll be
Yeah.
giving some people some understanding of what's going on in the Microsoft space and what the options are. But we can definitely do it again, and we'll see what people want to hear more of.
Yeah, well, so I suppose as a closing remark, thanks everyone for listening to this episode of Always On CXCX. As Tom and myself just said, if you've received one thing that you can use to improve your customer and employee experience, or one thing that you've learned today that you didn't know in the Microsoft AI space, we'd appreciate if you do the usual. I can't remember if it's subscribe, hit the subscribe button, smash the like button. I don't know what the terminology tends to be. Leave a review, make a comment. We'd love to hear comments on what are the topics that you'd like to hear about. What did you learn today that you didn't know about? What would you like for future episodes and guest appearances that you'd like to see? But please let us know. Thanks very much. Thanks for you, Tom.
And, thanks, John. Great to be on. I appreciate being the first guest, and looking forward to many more on the pod.
Awesome. Thanks for your time.